Hey, good evening, everyone. We are going to continue in the discussion of Ba'al Keri. We didn't have class last week, so I'm going to go back a little bit, do a little bit of review, just to give us a running start. I'll remind us about the opinions of in the Mishnah between the Tanna Kamma and Rabbi Yehuda, and then after that we'll get a running start. Hopefully, we could get into some nice machshava topics tonight as well. Some nice musar topics. I'm hoping, depending on how fast we move. Tonight we're gonna move a little bit. We're gonna cover some ground. We already did like a good chunk of the Gemara. I'm coming back because I want to give us a running start. I said I would repeat it, but before we do that, I'm gonna show you a chart to remind you what we're discussing and giving us a running start. So please look at the board, look at the screen. You see our Mishnah on 20B that we're now discussing. The Mishnah was talking about a case of a Ba'al Keri. What is a Ba'al Keri? Someone who had a seminal emission is correct. So usually man has relations, and then afterwards he's considered a Ba'al Keri. We also learned that a woman also has the status of a Ba'al Keri when she is with a man, and for the first 3 days after being together, she's considered poletet shichvat zera, in which that she could be emitting the semen as well. So she also has the status of a Ba'al Keri. What is the din of a Ba'al Keri? Ba'al Keri, as we're learning tonight, we're going to learn details, but a Ba'al Keri is not allowed to study Divrei Torah. That's what we said. Not allowed to study Divrei Torah. Why? Anyone remember the source Rabbi Shua ben Levi told us? We had Smuchin, Yom Asher Amata, it's you should teach Torah to your children. And the next line says, like the time when you were studying, when you were standing at Har Sinai. And so we said is when you're learning Torah, when you're teaching Torah, you have to be like how you were at Har Sinai. At Har Sinai, men and women were not allowed to be together. For 3 days, they had to separate. So too, someone who is with a spouse can't study Torah until they go to the mikveh. Okay, this was the source. Fine. But the important thing here that we have is the din that a Ba'al Keri is not allowed to study Torah. However, there was another opinion, the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Look at the screen. The screen tells us that the Tanna Kamma tells us that a Ba'al Keri, Shema, he can't say, because he can't say the words of Torah, but he thinks Shema in his mind. But the Berachot of Shema, he doesn't even think. And what about Beracha on food? Before, doesn't even think, doesn't do anything. Afterwards, he thinks. According to the Tanna Kamma, the difference is whether the mitzvah is from the Torah or from the rabbis. If the mitzvah is from the Torah, thinks it in his mind. If the mitzvah is from the rabbis, doesn't even think of it. This is a Ba'al Keri, is not allowed to engage in Torah. So he cannot say Shema Yisrael. Comes Rabbi Yehuda and argues across the board. Rabbi Yehuda says, first of all, you distinguish between Shema and the Berachot. You distinguish between Beracha before food and after food. I don't distinguish anything. I say it's all the same. And what do I say? I say it. Recite it verbally. A Ba'al Keri, there's no restriction. That's how we're understanding our Mishnah. Okay? That's what the Mishnah says. Okay, you're with me so far? Ba'al Keri, man is with his wife, has a seminal emission, wakes up in the morning, wants to say Shema. What is he allowed to do? Tell me. That's the answer. Very good. Rabbi Yehuda says, go ahead, say Shema. And Tanna Kamma says, you think the Shema, but don't even think about the Berachot. Okay? Very good. Now, we already did this last time. I'm going to do it again to give us a running start, but I'm not going to explain everything, so I just want to say it outside. We brought another Mishnah. And in this other Mishnah, it implies that Rabbi Yehuda still holds of the concept of mikveh by a Ba'al Keri. What does it say? This Mishnah, which we're going to see in a moment, is talking about the double-decker tumah, as I called it last time. I haven't thought of a right term. What is it? Let's say someone becomes a Niddah. Or first case of the Mishnah is someone is a Zav. A Zav is a form of tumah where a man has a irregular emission. It's not from having relations. It's something irregular. It's something like sickness of some sort. And the halacha is he needs to count 7 days and then go to the mikveh. Okay? So here's the question. Let's say there's a Zav. The Zav, if he goes to the mikveh now, it doesn't help him. He needs to wait 7 days. And after he became a Zav, he became a Ba'al Keri. So he had a regular emission. Let's say by accident, he had a regular emission afterwards, a Ba'al Keri emission. Should he go to the mikveh even though he has a longer tumah of zav on him? You get it? He became a zav, he has to wait 7 days. Now on day 2, he became a Ba'al Keri, but he's like, wait a minute, now I can't study Torah. A zav is allowed to study Torah. Ba'al Keri isn't. So what should he do? Should he go to the mikveh? So that's the machloket. And in that situation, it's Rabbi Yehuda says, no, don't go to the mikveh. And we're going to say, oh, Rabbi Yehuda in that case says, no, don't go. Why? Because anyway, you're a Tamei, so it doesn't help. Which sounds like if he was a Ba'al Keri alone without being a zav, then maybe in that situation he says go to the mikveh. That's what we're gonna read now and change our view of Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. Again, we did it. We're gonna get a running start. Let's go. Share screen. Oh, I wasn't sharing screen. Zoom people, you gotta tell me. Sorry, to the people on the Zoom. This was the Mishnah. On the left, you have Tanna Kamma. Says that Shema, you think in your mind, but the Berachot of Shema, you don't even think, you just skip. Whereas Rabbi Yehuda says you think everything verbally. Now, let's go to the bottom of 21B. If you're looking in the art scroll, it's 21B4. There's a break there, or it's on the screen. There are 3 cases here. 3 cases of someone who has a long form tumah that lasts a week, and then they also became a Ba'al Keri, which you just go straight to the mikveh, you don't have to wait at all. And the question is, since you already have to wait a week to go to the mikveh anyway, and now a person becomes a Ba'al Keri in the middle, is there any use in going to the mikveh now in the meantime? That's the question for all 3 cases. Let's go ahead and see it. Tanan, we learned in the Mishnah, Zav Shira Keri. A zav, as I already explained, is a man who had his seminal emission, but it's not a normal one. So he's going to be tamei for a week. Then Niddah, or a woman who is a Niddah, and because she's a Niddah, she needs to wait a week. She needs to wait 7 days. And then afterwards, she had an emission. Now, how is that possible? Because she had relations before. And then, she had relations before. And now, because a woman can emit for up to 3 days afterwards. So she had relations, she became a Niddah, and now she had her emission. She's a poletet shechazar, she became a Ba'al Keri after she became a Niddah, which is possible. And third case, hamshameshet, the third case is no, she had relations, became a Ba'al Keri, she had her emission, if you will, ve'atadam, and then afterwards, she became a Niddah. So in all 3 cases, it's a zav, who has to have 7 days. Niddah first, then the emission, she has to wait 7 days. Or the other cases, she had relations, had the emission first, and then became a Niddah. In all 3 cases, the question is, should the person go to the mikveh for Ba'al Keri? Tzirichin tevilah. The first opinion says yes, they have to go. Rabbi Yehuda says no, you don't have to go. So Chachamim are going to say they have to go to the mikveh. The guy has to go to the mikveh, even though he's going to have to go a few days later. Even though it's not even going to be fully effective, because he's still a zav, he has to go. It's pretty strict. Ba'al Keri has to go no matter what. And Rabbi Yehuda says, no, you don't have to go. Oh, ad kan lo patar Rabbi Yehuda ela bezav shira'a keri. Why does Rabbi Yehuda say you don't need to go? Why does Rabbi Yehuda say this zav shira'a keri doesn't need to go to the mikveh? Because anyway, he's a zav. So he has to wait and go at the end of the zav anyway. But since initially he was never subject to the takana of Ezra, he was never subject to going to the mikveh for Ba'al Keri. So why should he go? From the very beginning he was a zav, and then afterwards he became a Ba'al Keri. So there's no reason to go. It doesn't help anyway. Ba'al Keri, great, mechayev. But if he was just a Ba'al Keri, the implication is Rabbi Yehuda would say he has to go. Now, maybe you want to tell me, maybe you're going to say, no, Rabbi Yehuda doesn't care about any detail. Rabbi Yehuda is just going to say you never have to go. So he's just saying you don't have to go. But if that's the case, why does our Mishnah give us 3 examples? Maybe you're going to say that Rabbi Yehuda, in all cases, no matter what, says Ba'al Keri never has to go. Not like what Josh said, that Rabbi Yehuda says don't go in this case because he's a zav shira'a Ba'al Keri, but because he doesn't believe in Ba'al Keri at all, or doesn't believe at all, doesn't feel that a Ba'al Keri has any obligation to go to the mikveh at all. So if that's the case that Rabbi Yehuda says that a Ba'al Keri never has to go, why does he comment in this case that's constructed as a Zav that became a Ba'al Keri doesn't have to go? Sounds like a Zav that doesn't have a Ba'al Keri doesn't have to go, but a regular Ba'al Keri does. So, okay. Very good. So, why is he talking about this case? The fact that you gave 3 examples in your Mishnah is not for Rabbi Yehuda. It's for the Rabbanan who are arguing. Remember, we have 3 cases. Okay, everyone with me? There's 3 cases where a person has a form of Tumah that's going to last 7 days. Zav is a man who has an emission that's going to last 7 days, or a Niddah that's going to last 7 days. Now, the Niddah, you could either have it that she first became a Niddah and then was poletet, and then afterwards she had the seminal emission, which I explained. Meaning, she had relations with her husband, nothing emitted. Let's say she just lying down. She became a Niddah, so now she has the Niddah status, and then afterwards she had an emission. So she became a Niddah, and when she became a Niddah, that's 7 days, and then afterwards she had an emission. So first case is Zav 7 days, and then became a Ba'al Keri. Then it's Niddah 7 days, then she became a Ba'al Keri, even though not really Ba'al Keri, but she had the emission. Or the third case is flip the order of the previous one, where first she had relations, had the emission, and then became a Niddah. And in that case, again, she has to wait 7 days. Since she has to wait 7 days, in all 3 cases, Chachamim come and say, still you have to go to the mikveh for Ba'al Keri. On day 2, go. Even though you have a full week, and you're going to have to go again afterwards, still. And Rabbi Yehuda says, no, you don't have to in this case. Now, when Rabbi Yehuda says you don't have to go in this case, it sounds like he would say that in a case where you didn't have 2 Tumots, you didn't have the 7 day, you just had the by itself, it sounds like Rabbi Yehuda would say, you have to go. You just don't have to go in this case. Now, Elon is shaking his head. He's saying, no. The reason you give me 3 cases is for the rabbis. To say that the rabbis say that even though the person is not even going to be fully effective, you have to go. But if that's the case, then you're telling me the reason you have these examples is for the rabbis. Because for Rabbi Yehuda, none of these examples matter. All Ba'al Keri. Why do I have 3 examples? For the rabbis. Now we have an issue. Because if you want to tell me that, why do I need case 2 and case 3? Because what is case 2? Case 2 is she's a Niddah, which means at this point, she's in 7-day status. Then she became a Ba'al Keri, and still rabbis say, you have to go. When she started the Ba'al Keri, she was already in a larger Tumah. So if in that case rabbis say you have to go, what about in a case where she had relations first, had the emission first? Now she's a Ba'al Keri first. Of course you have to go in that case, and then afterwards you become Niddah. Of course you do. So you wouldn't need the third case. If the examples, the cases, the scenarios are only for the rabbis, the third case doesn't add anything. The third case is already included in the second case. Therefore, the Gemara says, in the third case, where first she had relations, became the Ba'al Keri, and then became a Niddah, that she needs to go. Why do I need that example? What do I need that scenario? If the purpose of the scenario, that example, is for the rabbis, pshita, it's obvious. Why? Because hashta, in the first case, Uma Zav Shera'a Keri. First, he became a Zav. And at the beginning, since he became a Zav, going to the mikveh doesn't help him. The rabbis say, and even though you're in your longer Tumah status, afterwards you become a Ba'al Keri, you have to go to the mikveh. Then in a situation where you first become a Ba'al Keri, where you could go to the mikveh, and then after the mikara bat tevilahi, lo koshkin, isn't it all the more so? Therefore, what we're going to say is this third example has to be there for the rabbis, for Rabbi Yehuda rather, lav Rabbi Yehudahi, v'davka katanila, and it's coming to teach you this case for Rabbi Yehuda, to teach you that Rabbi Yehuda says, in a situation where a person has 2 tumas, Ba'al Keri, and something else, you don't need to go. But if it's Ba'al Keri alone, you have to go. The implication of this, what the Gemara wants to tell us, is that according to Rabbi Yehuda, Ba'al Keri needs mikveh. Do you remember our Mishnah? You say you don't need it at all. So that's what we're doing. we're saying, we're trying to understand what is the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. In our Mishnah, he says you don't need to do anything. But now, in this case, our Mishnah says, you know what? If you have multiple things, you don't need to go. But that sounds like if you have only one Ba'al Keri, you have to go. So what is the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda? I know there's questions. Let me get to a stopping point. So, Lo tema mevar. So fine. Mishameshet verata niddah, and I turned to Chaf Bet Amud Aleph. Mishameshet verata niddah in a situation where first she's a Ba'al Keri and then she's Sadam. Enas richat tevilah. She doesn't need to go. Aba Ba'al Keri greda mechayev. But if he were just a Ba'al Keri, he would need. The lo tema mevarech ela meharher. Therefore, we have to change the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. That when Rabbi Yehuda says you don't need to do anything. Sorry, Rabbi Yehuda says you can do everything. You don't need to go to the mikveh. He means in his mind. And I did this last time. If you look at the screen, instead of saying recites verbally, what you should do is watch this magic. Boom. Cross out the recites verbally. Okay, I don't want you to see what I did. Cross out the recites verbally, but instead is think in his mind. In other words, we said before that Rabbi Yehuda was arguing on two things. Number one, for Shema, Tanna Kamma says think it, and Rabbi Yehuda says say it. And then for the Berachot, Tanna Kamma says skip it, and Rabbi Yehuda says say it. But now we're saying no. For Shema, they agree. Just think it. For afterwards, they agree. Just think it. It's just that Rabbi Yehuda says you could think about the other stuff also. So what we did is we took Rabbi Yehuda in our Mishnah and we brought him closer to say that Rabbi Yehuda also requires a Ba'al Keri to go to the mikveh, and before a Ba'al Keri goes to the mikveh, they cannot study Torah, but they could think it. Okay? Good. We did all of this last time, and this is where we left off. Okay? Questions? Yes. The first case and the second case, it's talking about a man and a woman. It's just the difference that it's coming to teach you. The reason you need that other case is to teach you that a woman's status of a Ba'al Keri is the same as a man's status as Ba'al Keri. Well, what's important is that if I were to ask you, does Ba'al Keri apply only to men or does it apply to women also? It's not so clear. So that's why you need the second case to tell you that it equally applies to men and women, the concept of a Ba'al Keri. Correct. No, you can't because it's emitted from the man. But it's a very good question. Yeah. Okay, good. All right, you ready? So what we just did is we just took Rabbi Yehuda, who is the strong opinion that said in mikveh. This is what the first thing, close up the door of the mikveh. You don't need to go to the mikveh. Now he said, no. He's still requiring you to go. It's just that he says that you're allowed to think about more things than the first opinion. That's all he's doing. He says that you also required to go. Ba'al Keri, greda, sarich. Okay, but now, here's the problem. If we're going to say this, that means Rabbi Yehuda says thinking works. Or that Rabbi Yehuda is of the opinion to think. Here's the problem. Does Rabbi Yehuda, this is new. We're doing this new now. Does Rabbi Yehuda say that you should think? If a person is a Ba'al Keri, that he should think? I have a braita that it says explicitly that he should say it, which is going to be a problem. Where does it say? V'hatanya Ba'al Keri she'en lo mayim litbol. This is the case of the braita. A man is a Ba'al Keri, and he doesn't have water. Why? I don't know. They're doing work in the streets. It happened to me one Sunday. It's very difficult. The guy comes and says, by the way, we're turning off your water. You have to tell me now? Like, yeah, something happened now. All right, Ba'al Keri, there's no water in the house. What are you going to do? Or let's say the guy's going on a camping trip. They go to the bungalow. I don't know. There's no water. There's no water. Someone they have a thing of Poland Spring. Ba'al Keri she'en lo mayim litbol. So what should you do? Here's the first opinion. The second opinion is Rabbi Yehuda. So the first opinion, don't get confused, is the opinion of Rabbi Meir. Korek kriyat Shema. You could say Shema. Ve'eno mevarech, but don't say the Berachot. Lo lefaneya v'lo lachareya. So Shema, yes. Berachot, no. Ve'ochel pito. And you eat bread, mevarech al lachareya, and say the bracha afterwards. Ve'eno mevarech lefaneya, but don't say the bracha before. So Shema, yes. Berachot, no. Birkat hamazon after, yes. Hamatzi before, no. And all of this is done through hirhur. Right? So that means think the Shema, but not the Berachot. And think Berkat Hamazon, but not the Bracha before. Divrei Rabbi Meir. This is the opinion of Rabbi Meir. If you look at my chart, it's exactly the same as the Tanna Kamma. Think the Shema, but not the Berachot. Think the Berkat Hamazon after, but not the Bracha before. So this we're now learning is really the opinion of Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir is the first opinion of our Mishnah. What does Rabbi Yehuda say? Amazing. Let's see what the Rabbi Yehuda says. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, ben kach or ben kach. In all of these cases, motzi bisfatav. Bring the words out of your mouth. What does that mean? That means across the board, everything, you can say it verbally. So now I come and I say, why did you make me cross these out? Don't cross these out. Recites verbally. Do magic. This is very clear. This is the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. So now we have a problem. Someone tell me the problem. Well, I have a Mishnah that Rabbi Yehuda says, in the case where you have a Zav and a Ba'al Keri, you don't have to go. Which sounds like if it's only Ba'al Keri, you have to go to the mikveh. That's what it sounds like. But you have another Braita that says there's a Ba'al Keri, he doesn't have water, and he says, you can do everything. So what is it? Is the guy have to go to the mikveh? If the guy has to go to the mikveh, then why do you tell me that if I have no water, you could do everything? Then I don't have to go to the mikveh. Do I have to go to the mikveh, Rabbi Yehuda, or not? We're trying to understand the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Ready? Yes, question? Okay, so the whole thing is that you don't allow a Ba'al Keri to study Torah. Yeah, we did that whole flow. We did that. This is the opinion. What we said about Rabbi Yehuda is that he is does not doresh smuchin by Mishneh Torah, which is why he doesn't hold of this. But we have this Mishnah that implies that he does. So we're trying to see how the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda shakes out. Ready? Here we go. This is it. And after this, we're going to learn a lot of opinions. Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak tells us, Asa'an Rabbi Yehuda ki hilchot derech eretz. You're right. Rabbi Yehuda does require a Ba'al Keri to go to the mikveh, except unless you're learning hilchot derech eretz, which is musar. If a person is learning the laws of derech eretz, which is lessons in musar, things like that, they don't need to go to the mikveh. Torah, he does. Derech eretz, musar, he does not need to go to the mikveh. And what he's saying here is that Rabbi Yehuda throws in Shema Yisrael into that bucket, throws in Berkat Hamazon into that bucket. So what we're learning now is that Rabbi Yehuda, it's not that he says Ba'al Keri doesn't exist. It does, but he says, but there's some minimum things you're allowed to do, like learning musar, don't get angry, how to behave the proper way. Shema Yisrael Berkat Hamazon. The Tani, because we learned on the Braita. Here we go. Are you ready? Everyone buckle up. It's getting loud in here. You guys hear the noise? I have to get louder. They get louder, get louder. The Tanya, it says that you should teach Torah to your children. The next line says the way you learn Torah at Har Sinai. Just as at Har Sinai, when we learned Torah, it was with fear, it was with respect, it was with trembling, it was with quaking. How do they translate it? Seriousness, fear. So there was a sense of seriousness at Har Sinai. Afkan be'ema ovira ovretet v'ziyah. So too that means that when you learn Torah, you should always do it with fear, with awe, with respect, with trembling. Torah is something that should be treated with respect, should not be done lightheaded. Mikan amru. So from here we learn hazavin, v'hametzorain, uba'in al nidot. All forms of tum'ah, a zav, which is a form of tum'ah, a mitzorah, which is a leper, form of tum'ah, v'ba'in al nidot, a man that has the status of a niddah because he was with a niddah. All of these forms of tum'ah, none of them happen because of levity. None of them happen because of being lightheaded. None of them happen because you were having fun. A zav had an emission. A mitzorah had some sort of a skin disease. It wasn't because he was having relations and was in a certain lightheaded mood. These forms of tumah or ba'ina niddah, I'll explain in a moment. This person is allowed to study Torah. If a person is tameh, but it's not. It didn't happen from being lightheaded or being very. What's the word? It wasn't voluntary from a correct. Then he's allowed to study Torah. Lishnot Mishnah. He's allowed to study Mishnah. Uva Gemara and the Gemara. Uva halachot. He's allowed to learn halacha. Agadot. He's allowed to learn all of the agarta. Aval Ba'al Keri asurin. But a Ba'al Keri who does not have the ema yirah, doesn't have the fear. Why? Because he was just having relations. A person that's in the mood of having relations doesn't have the same sense of fear and awe and respect. So that person shouldn't study Torah. Okay? Until he goes to the mikveh. So far, first opinion says a Ba'al Keri is not allowed to do anything. Any Torah. Opinion number 2. Rabbi Yosef, who wants to be my counter? I just need you to count how many opinions we have. Oh, Rama, is that you? Are you saying you're number 2 on my list? You count. This is saying me. I'll do it. I'm here. Number 2, Rabbi Yosef. Shonehu baregiliot. A Ba'al Keri is allowed to do mishnayot that he's very fluent in. He's very ragil in. As long as he doesn't explain the Mishnah. So the first opinion says, what can a Ba'al Keri do? The answer is 0. No Torah, zilch, nothing. Finished. Cannot do anything. Comes the second opinion. Rabbi Yosef says, you're allowed to say Mishnayot that you're ragil in, that you know fluently. What is a Mishnah that you know fluently? You're sucking up to the teacher. You're telling me this Mishnah. Yes. Okay. What are you going to say? Yeah. You know what I would say? This is Mishnayot. This is a Mishnah. This is Mesechet Shabbat. These are. So what he's saying? What did you say? Yeah. Very good. Very good. That was the regiliot for the whole world, and it also causes people to stand up. He said, So these things you're allowed to do because it's almost like you're reciting something, but don't explain it. Rabbi Yonatan ben Yosef, what opinion is that? You lost count. Oh, yeah. Number 3, Rabbi Yonatan ben Yosef says, Matziyahu et Mishnah. He can explain the Mishnah, no problem. You can even explain the Mishnah. Ve'eno matziyah te Gemara. But don't go into the details of the Gemara. You could say this is what the opinion of the Mishnah is. But don't say this is how we learned it, and we learned it from here. Don't go that deep. Rabbi Natan ben Avishalom Omer, this is opinion number 4. Af matziyat Gemara. A Ba'al Keri is even allowed to explain the Gemara. But don't say the name of Hashem. So you could teach Torah, but when you get up to Pasuk, don't say the name of God. Say Hashem. As long as you do that. By the way, you learn from here. Tzvi says from here that if you're not a Ba'al Keri, or if you're not in the status of Tumot, and we're going to see the halakha is not like him, when you're studying Torah, you should always say the name of Hashem. Because what is he saying? He's saying, oh, my opinion is this guy, you can learn everything, but you don't say the name of Hashem, which means normally you should be saying the name of Hashem when you study Torah. And if you pay attention, I always try to do it. I always try to say the name of Hashem when we're learning. It's the halakha, except if you're saying a beracha. If I'm learning about a bracha, I don't say Baruch Atah Amona. I don't say the name of a God there. But if I'm quoting a pasuk, you say the name of Hashem. Okay, so that's the next opinion. Rabbi Yochanan ben Hassanlar Omer. This is number 5. Rabbi Yochanan Hassanlar is Adam Sandler's great grandfather. Hassanlar. This is it. Rabbi Yochanan Hassanlar Talmido shel Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Yochanan Hassanlar was the student of Rabbi Akiva. Mishum Rabbi Akiva Omer. He quoted Rabbi Akiva saying the following. Lo yikanes la midrash kol ikar. Do not learn anything. Lo yikanes la midrash kol ikar. Do not get into any type of learning. So we were building up. One opinion said nothing. Then he said you could say the Mishnayot, just don't explain them. Next says you could even explain Mishnayot, just don't explain the Gemara. You could even explain the Gemara, just don't say the name of Hashem. Comes Rabbi Akiva and says don't say anything. The Amrila and some explain that Rabbi Yochanan say lo yikanes lebet hamidrash kol ikar. No, he's actually taking it a step further than the first opinion. It's not that he's saying don't learn at all. He's saying don't even step into the bet midrash. Don't even hear. Right? Some of you guys right now went upstairs to hear of Shlomo Amar. Don't even step inside. Even if you're not going to say anything, don't even go. Wow, this is very strict. And then Rabbi Yehuda Omer is our beloved Rabbi Yehuda, who we've been trying to understand what his opinion is. Shonehu be'ilchot derech eretz. Rabbi Yehuda says, I'll tell you what he's allowed to do. He's allowed to study musar. He's allowed to study the laws of ethics. And that's why the opinion says, and included in that, he's including Shema Yisrael and Birkat HaMazon. So we finally found what the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda is. Does Rabbi Yehuda believe that a Ba'al Keri has to go to the mikveh? Yes. So how come in our Mishnah, when it says a Ba'al Keri, he says you could just say Shema? Because he buckets it together with the concept of Musar, Derech Eretz, and he permits. In other words, it's not black and white. There's a spectrum of what you're allowed to do, and Rabbi Yehuda is of the opinion that a Ba'al Keri is allowed to do Derech Eretz, including Shema and Birkat HaMazon. Okay. Yes. I'm gonna say just take it for stipulation. We wanted to cover every opinion. Why each one says what he says is a very good question. I don't know why, but I want to show you a chart. Oh, actually, not yet. It's a good question. Elon's asking, how does each one come up with their opinion? Yeah. It's a good question. I don't have an answer. I think each one is basically saying, how far did the Gezerah go? You have to think about it this way. Or think about it this way. Ezra made a takana. And we're going to see what the purpose of this takana is. Ezra made a takana that a Ba'al Keri shouldn't study Torah. Why? We're going to see the purpose is because he didn't want Talmidei Chachamim to be with their wives all the time, to be, the way the Gemara calls it, like roosters. To go with their wives like roosters. What does that mean? That means tell the guy to go to shiur. Sorry, I can't go to the shiur now. Why? I'm gonna have to be with my wife. And then tomorrow I have to wake up early. No, I can't. I have to be with my wife. What ends up happening? The person's not going to learn any Torah. There are times that's designated. This is for your Chatan teachers will teach you. There's times that a man and a woman have to be together. There's times of the month that they're together. Times of the month that they're not. There's certain days of the week to be together. Certain times they're not. But a Talmid Chacham, if he's going to be with his wife every single night. So, Rabbi, we need you to give you a shiur on Monday night. Sorry, I have a date night. What about Tuesday night? Also date night. Wednesday night? What day night? Okay, can you give a shiur in the morning? Date morning. Everything is a date. So this is what he's, they say, I know you love Torah so much. So Ezra Sofer said, every time you go on Ba'al Keri, you have to go to the mikveh. Like, hey, Baba, you have to pay $5. I have to bring my own towel. It's cold outside. Oh, okay. And then you have a conversation with your wife. Honey, not every night. Okay, so this is what Ezra Sofer wants. Now, don't like go home and use this against your wife or something, against me, and quote the rabbi. People on YouTube, hey, like, okay, look, we're gonna learn in a second that this doesn't apply anymore. Okay, so I don't know who wants to misuse me and misquote me. I'm making a disclaimer. Don't go act anything. I'm just teaching you the lines of the Gemara. Okay, but we're not done. But back to Elon's point. So there is a cost to this. What's the cost? When Ezra Sofer says that a person can't study Torah, what's the cost? The cost is now you're going to have people not studying Torah. Or the opposite, you're going to have people that are not going to be with their wives at all. And then someone's going to separate from being with his wife now. So there's a cost to this. So you could see how there's different rabbis that say, like, look, don't push it so much. Let the person at least do Mishnayot. So at least he's studying some Torah. So at least when his wife wants to be with him, he won't say, no, I won't be able to do anything. Okay, the next one says, no, that's not enough. Let him do also Gemara. No, that's not enough. Let him do this. Let him do that. So it's just a matter of how far Ezra Sofer was. Now, one opinion, Rabbi Akiva says, don't even step foot into the Bet Midrash. And the other one says, hey, you could do everything. We didn't get up to that yet. Okay, let me do one more. There's so much to do. We're going until 11 tonight. Maaseh Rabbi Yehuda. First, we want to say something important about Rabbi Yehuda. What is the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda? What is a Ba'al Keri allowed to do when he's a Ba'al Keri? Musar. What's called Derech Eretz. Very good. So there's a story with Rabbi Yehuda. I guess Maaseh Rabbi Yehuda Shira'a Keri. Once it happened that Rabbi Yehuda himself, he was a Ba'al Keri. V'haya mehalech al gav hanahar, and he was by a river. It's a mikveh. It's a natural mikveh. Amrulo Tamidav, his students were with him, and they said, Rabbeinu, Rabbi, Shnei lanu perek echad be'ilchot derech eretz. Can you teach us something from Musar? Now, his opinion, which he taught his students, is that even a Ba'al Keri is allowed to teach derech eretz, allowed to teach musar. So I don't know if the students knew. I don't know what the story is, but the student said, "Can you teach us musar?" And even if he's a Ba'al Keri, he could teach them. What happened? Yarad v'taval v'shana lahem. So he jumped into the river, went for a quick splash, came up, and he said, "I'm going to teach you guys some musar now." And he teaches them. So the student said to the rabbi, "Lo kachli matanu rabbeinu, Rabbi, didn't you teach us shonehu bilchot derech eretz that you're allowed to study musar, you're allowed to teach musar? Why did you go to the mikveh? It's clear that we asked you to do this. You said, hold on a second, jump in, come out. Why did you have to do that?" So Amar lahem, he said to them, "Afal pi shemekel ani al acherim, even though I am lenient for others, machmir ani al atzmi, I'm strict for myself." Which means that I, Rabbi Yehuda, who in the Mishnah, for a second we thought that he allows you to do everything and he doesn't even believe in it. He himself goes no matter what. He himself would go no matter what. But he had a leniency for others for Derech Eretz and Shema and Berachot 21B. Okay? Question, yes?
I feel like it's not such a crazy claim. It's like saying like you can do this before you go wash your hands.
Wow! Richard! Yes, it's actually going to come up in a few more lines. Richard said something very good. Richard said, there are different levels of like what's better and what's not. So Rabbi Yehuda could say, yeah, this is fine, but I want to be strict on myself. Richard give you a similar example that if your hands are dirty and it's time for tefillah, you have to go wash your hands. But we said there was one opinion that says, no, it's okay, just wipe your hands on anything to clean it off and keep going. So you see that there's a situation where you could get away with doing something less, but I want to do something more. I want to go wash my hands. Very good example. It's actually going to come up in a few lines. Excellent. Excellent connection between one Gemara and the next. The Gemara itself does it. Amazing. Okay. Are you ready? There's one more opinion. Dun, dun, dun. Final opinion. And with him, this entire sugya is going to come to a close because this is the most... okay, let's just see it. Tanya, we learned in the Braita, Rabbi Yehuda ben Betira haya omer. Rabbi Yehuda ben Betira would always say the following: En divrei Torah mekabelim tumah. The words of Torah do not become tameh. The words of tumah can never become susceptible. The words of Torah cannot become susceptible to impurity. So what does that mean? You could be tameh. Be tameh. It's fine. You're not going to hurt the Torah by saying it. In other words, Rabbi Adam Betira is saying is that Ba'al Keri is allowed to study everything. This is the last opinion. And what's his reasoning for Ilan? He gave his reasoning because Torah is not mikabel tumah. Ma'aseh b'tamid echad shehaya migamgem l'mala Rabbi Yehuda ben Betira. There was a story once that there was a student that came in front of Rabbi Yehuda ben Betira and he was speaking and the student kept stuttering. Why? Because the student knew a lot of Torah. Rabbi Yehuda ben Betira was telling him, "Tell me," but the student was a Ba'al Keri. Yeah, he's a no Tumot. He just got married, and so he was a Ba'al Keri. He was just sitting there, and then Rabbi Yehuda ben Betira says, "Come, teach me this, say this, say this, say that," and he felt so uncomfortable because he knew he was a Ba'al Keri. So he said it, but he was stuttering. He said it, but he was stuttering. Amar leis, Rabbi Yehuda ben Betira said to him, "Beni, my son. Pitach picha v'ya'iru devarecha. Open your mouth and say the words clearly. She'en divrei Torah mekablim tumah. What are you worried about? Torah is not going to become tameh because you're tameh. So you're tameh, but the word's not going to. Torah's not going to become tameh. Say it clearly. Shnei amar, as the pasuk says, Halo chod devarim ka'esh neum Adonai. God says, aren't my words like fire? Fire does not become tameh. Ma'esh eno mekabel tumah. Af divrei Torah. Enan mikabelin tuma. So too, just as fire does not become impure, so too words of Torah do not become impure. Which means a Ba'al Keri is allowed to study Torah. Rabbi Adam ben Betira had a situation. There was a student that was a Ba'al Keri, and he wasn't like saying the words. He's like, just open your mouth. What are you worried about? The words of Torah are not going to become tameh. You're tameh, but the words of Torah are not going to become tameh. Look at the screen to the chart of Rav Eli Stefansky. This chart is in Hebrew. And you look at all of the shades of colors that he got. It's amazing. So number one is the opinion of the Tanna Kamma. Tanna Kamma says, Asur hakol. A Ba'al Keri, everything is prohibited. That's how we started. That was opinion number one. Ram, how many did we count?
4 or 5.
Aye. We have at least 7. Yeah, you stopped counting. Okay, it's okay. You were right. Up until the 4th one, we had 4, and then after that, we added a few more. Let's see it. Tanna Kamma says Asur Akol, everything is Asur. Rabbi Yosef says Mutar Mishnayot. But these are only the Mishnayot that you're ragil in, that you're very, fluently. Say it again. Yeah, but don't explain it. Lo la'arich, but don't expand upon them. Then the next opinions, Rabbi Meir, which is from our Mishnah, Rabbi Adam and Yosef, mutar la'arich v'lo yatzia Gemara. You can explain the Mishnah, but don't go into the Gemara. Rabbi Yonatan ben Amishalom, number 4, mutar la'atzia v'lo yomar askarot. You could even explain the Gemara, but don't say the name of God. Number 5 is Rabbi Yochanan HaSanlar, quoting Rabbi Akiva, 2 versions of him. The first one is Lo yikares the Bet HaMidrash lilmod. Don't enter the Bet HaMidrash to learn. Rabbi Yochanan HaSanlar, number 2 is Lo yikanes bichlal. Don't enter. I got it wrong. Both of them are Bet Midrash. It's just one of them is saying don't go into the Bet HaMidrash to listen, and the second one is saying don't even go in. Even if you're not going to listen, don't go in at all. Okay? Lo yikanes bichlal. Then number 6, Rabbi Yehuda, mutar lilmod hilchot derech eretz. Rabbi Yehuda tells us you're allowed to learn the laws of Musar. And finally, number 7, Rabbi Yehuda ben Mitera, mutar hakol, everything is mutar. Why does Rabbi Yehuda ben Mitera say everything is mutar? En divrei Torah mikabelin tumah. Say it again. En divrei Torah mikabelin tumah. The words of Torah do not become impure. Yes. Oh, excellent question. Okay, Andrew's asking an excellent question. This whole time I've been telling you that Ezra Sofer makes a takana. So it's just a matter of how far Ezra's takana was. But now this opinion is saying there's no takana. So what happened with Ezra Sofer? Rabbi Adam, you can't argue with Ezra Sofer. I believe there's 4 answers to this question. Let's all make our way to the footnote. Okay, in 22A2 of the Art Scroll, footnote number 18. Footnote number 18. I'm going to read it. Andrew's question, you guys all got it? All of these opinions, they say it applies to something, but Rabbi Adam says doesn't apply to anything. Okay, so didn't Ezra Sofer make a takana? Footnote number 18. In general, rabbinic decrees cannot be nullified by a later sage acting unilaterally. They may be rescinded only by a court greater in size and wisdom than the original court which had passed the decree. Given this, the commentators and Andrew Hakimian ask, how was it that Rabbi Adam was able to simply disregard Ezra's decree, barring a Ba'al Keri from the study of Torah? Good question, Andrew. Addressing this problem, Tosfot offers 3 suggestions. A. Rabbi Adam maintains that as a matter of historical fact, Ezra never issued any such decree restricting a Ba'al Keri. Meaning, it's not that he's arguing with Ezra and says, no, Ezra, I don't like your decree. It's that he's saying, historically, it never happened. They were considering it, but it never happened. I'll give you an example. You know how many times people told me, they're not changing daylight savings anymore. They say, you're not changing daylight savings anymore. They were talking about it, but did that ever happen? Okay, but you know how many people told me that they changed it? You were there, no? When the Congress was talking about it? Okay, so there was discussion, but it doesn't mean it actually happened. So Ezra Sofer's Betin was discussing it, but it never happened. That's the first answer to what tells us. The Rabbi Adam tells us, matter of historical fact, never happened. Number 2, so continue. He concedes that Ezra did enact such a decree. No, it did happen, but it's just that Ezra stipulated at that time that the decree could be rescinded by later generations, even by a court of lesser size and stature. So for the second view, he's saying that Ezra had a built-in mechanism in his takana. He made a takana, and he said, but if it ever comes to the point that you can't do it, I let any court, no matter what size it is, I let them abolish it, even if it's a later court. So this is what happens is sometimes you make a requirement for your office, for your employees. You say, I want to do this type of thing, but if it's taking you longer than 20 minutes, then forget about it. You ever do this? You tell someone, do this, and if it takes you longer than 10 minutes, then forget about it. That's what happened. Ezra Sofer, do this, but if you see that it's not working, I give you permission. Forget about it. So that's the second. So number one, Ezra never made a takana. Number two, Ezra made it, but he had a built-in mechanism that he said, if you want to let it go, you can let it go later on. And number three, Ezra made it, and Ezra never let us take it back. So the third answer is the decree was never widely accepted by the majority of the Jewish people, which means he made the takana, but no one accepted it. And there's a rule that if people don't accept the takana, then the takana doesn't stick. If Ezra Sofer, as great as he is, he says you should do this, but everyone says like, there's no mikveh in the entire 50-mile radius, and you're telling me I don't accept. Okay, is that correct? No, but it happened. It's a matter of historical fact. And then Rabbi Adam comes and says, and you know what? There's a source for it also. The source is and divrei Torah mikablim tumah. So these are the three answers. I believe there's a fourth answer. I don't see it here. Yeah. In such cases, the decree does not achieve binding status. In order for it to actually have binding status, it had to have been accepted at some point. But if it were never accepted, then it's almost as though like the Am Yisrael vetoed it, or something to that extent. Okay, excellent question.
How is studying Torah equivalent to like saying Shema for the purpose of you have to say Shema or you have to say Berachot 21B by blessing to Hashem? It's not studying Torah, you're praising Hashem.
Excellent, very good. So, and his question is like, when was the last time you said, "Oh, let's go learn Torah"? I have to say Berachot Hamazon. I have to say Berachot Hamazon, and then I'll start learning Torah afterwards. Like, what does one have to do with the other? Or Shema Yisrael. When you say Shema, you're not doing it for Torah. So you're saying because you have to say Shema Yisrael. So it's a matter of, again, it's like gray. Shema Yisrael is from the Torah, but Shema Yisrael also talks about you have to love God. That's a Musar concept. What does it mean to love God? You should be willing to give up your life for God. That's a Musar Derech Eretz topic that you talk about, like you should be willing to do everything for God, even if you're not going to have any money, you should do it, and you believe in it, and you should have fear of Hashem, and you should always be studying Torah, and you should do it in the morning, you should do it in the night. This is what the Shema Yisrael says. You should put the Torah everywhere. You should put it around your home. You should put it on your doorpost. So these are Musar concepts. When someone thinks about Shema and they read it, they could get inspired. They look at the tzitzit. What happens when you look at the tzitzit? I'm not going to go after my heart. I'm not going to go after the temptations. I'm not going to think about these things. These are all Musar concepts. So it's Torah, but it's also Musar. So this is why Rabbi Yehuda is of the opinion that says, even though it's words of Torah, I'm going to allow you to say it because there is this Musar aspect to it. And it's closer to Musar than it is to the study of Torah. It's Torah, it's Musar, I put it in this bucket. Same with Berachot Hamazon. Berachot Hamazon we're quoting Psukim, Kamor Potecha Dedecha Maspil Chayrazon. But when someone goes through Berachot Hamazon, there's Musar there. How? Because you're saying everything comes from Hashem. Hazan et hakol. Everything comes from Hashem. If you think, when you say Berachot Hamazon, I once heard this, that if someone says Berachot Hamazon with full kavanah, Hashem's going to take care of their parnasah. I'm still trying to do this, but yeah, what is the idea behind this? The idea is, what are you saying when you say Berachot Hamazon? You say, Ribono Shel Olam, I have needs, and you provide for those needs, and not just for me, for everyone. Hazan et hakol. And I thank you for it, and I thank you for the land, and I thank you for this, and I thank you for that, and you thank you for this, and everything is coming from you, and the land comes from you, and this comes from you, and that comes from you. It's Torah. You're quoting Psukim. You're saying words from Divrei Torah. You're also thinking Musar, thinking about emotional things to encourage you, philosophical ideas. So to answer your question of like, how is the Torah? Well, it quotes Psukim from the Torah, but it's also something else, right? And this entire thing is a matter of like, what we're trying to pinpoint what's clear is that it's not clear. What's clear is I have 7 opinions on what Ezra's takana was. What does that mean? Or 6, and then the 7th says that even Ezra would let it go under some circumstances, which means the takana wasn't so clear. We don't have it so clear, but we know that he made a takana, and the Amoraim are trying to sort it out, right? Or Tanaim maybe. Okay, All right, what time is it? All right. You guys learning be'ema v'yirah retet v'zi'ah? I'm sweating. This is we're studying Torah. We have to do like we're at Har Sinai. You know, I remember. I'll tell you guys one thing. I was one night I was learning Pirkei Avot, and there's a Mishnah in Pirkei Avot. Shema Omer Aseh Torah Keva. You should make your Torah keva. And I was lying down in my bed Friday night, lying down in my bed. I had my pillows propped up like this. I had the light, the bathroom light was on over there, and I was learning this Mishnah. I said Torah keva, you should make it a Torah keva. What does that mean? Did I tell you this? You're looking with a smile. No, I thought I told this. So I said Torah keva. So the opinion Tiferet Yisrael says that when you're studying Torah, you should be in a established posture. You should not be lying down. And I'm reading this as I'm lying down. It's like, all right, let's get up, get the pillow straight. Yeah. So but what he's saying is that when you're studying Torah, it shouldn't be with kickback, recline. I know Friday night you want to sit down on the couch and you want to read something and it's nice. But someone who's engaging in Torah, you should engage in Torah. It's like a serious thing. You know, there's many people that they can't work from home. They have to go to the office. Even if they have to spend money, they want to go to the office, right? Why? Because you want to have a setting, you want to have a desk, you want to have the monitors, you want to have everything set up. Same thing with Torah study. You want to have a setting, you want to have a desk, you want to have everything set up. You want to be in a place where this is the place for me to study Torah. You want to be dressed in a certain environment. There are certain people that go to work in shorts every day. But there are certain people that says, no, I have to dress up like this no matter what. There are certain people that put on a tie every day. Why? It gets them into the mindset. Of course, we're in a different generation now. I know that. But this is telling you how you treat it with seriousness. When you're studying Torah, you treat it with seriousness. That's what this whole thing is. So if someone is having relations, in the middle of having relations, he wants to study Torah, and then he wants to go back to having relations, his mindset is not in the right place of Torah. So Ezra came and said, look, we need to make some separation so you could have some proper mindset. But it's just a matter of like, look, how much is enough? How much is too much? How much is okay? And that's really what this whole push and pull about. And there's more. Let's see. It's 9:25. We're going to keep going. Okay, but let's just end up with one thing. What's the halacha nowadays? Halacha, the halacha is like a Rabbi Adam and Torah. A person who has relations as a Ba'al Keri, they are allowed to study Torah. They should study Torah. Now, all of the musar behind this, like I just said, of you should treat Torah with respect, and a person should not treat Torah like with lightheadedness. But this is how we're going to hold the halacha. There are some that say there's an exception, and the exception is for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And that's why we have this practice. Before Rosh Hashanah, many people go to the mikveh, or before Yom Kippur, many people go to the mikveh. It's related to this idea. It's very possible that maybe that when Ezra did this, and it was revoked, but it wasn't revoked for those high holidays. That's one opinion. And we're going to learn how there's many ways to go to the mikveh for this type of Ba'al Keri. So we're not done, but what we're done with is the key opinion of Rabbi Adam and Torah. It's been on hold for like a month now. Rabbi Adam and Torah is what the halacha is going to be, and none of this applies nowadays. Why am I spending so much time and energy explaining this? Number one, because it's the Gemara. Okay, we're learning the Gemara no matter what's there. Number two, there is a very important message that we come out of from this. The important message is that we don't treat Torah study like reading the newspaper, like something you do casually, like something like someone has relations and then watches shiur. I mean, like I wish this was people's problems, right? That they're studying so much Torah, but it's not a TV show. Someone is watching a shiur. It's not a TV show. It's the person is coming in with energy, with effort. Torah study requires attention. Torah study requires getting rid of distractions. It requires being focused. And this is the real idea that I would want to take behind this. And I encourage all of you to think about this. There are times when you study Torah, you have your phone with you. Sometimes you need to be accessible. Sometimes you don't need to be accessible. Put your phone aside. Why? You could focus. You could focus on the Torah. You're doing it anyway, right? You're studying Torah anyway. So why not do it the right way? Why not do it with maximum efficiency, maximum potential to try to achieve as much as you can? Yes, Rahman.
Are there those people who hold by the opinion of if they are Ba'al Keri, they still have to do mikveh? Because I've heard even in today's
Sure.
people do it. And do they do it just because they want to show more respect for the Torah? Is that the reason?
Okay, there are people that go to the mikveh every day.
Because of that reason or for another reason?
It's definitely related. We're going to see in the Gemara that there are people that go, and the Gemara is going to say, "Why are you even going?" They're going to see how. But what it does is, I'll tell you like this: is it required? No. If someone thinks that they have to go, they're making a mistake. But if someone goes, and by going, it puts them in a mindset that they're ready for tefillah, they're focused for tefillah, and it gets rid of distractions, and they get into the right mindset, the mindset of Torah study. Like that is powerful. Is that if you know that that's what you, by doing that you get yourself going, you know, you should do it. You know, you absolutely should do it. Incidentally, I'll say Rav Safir, who's the mohel for my boys, for my Yosef, my second son. It was freezing cold. It was like negative. It was like it was below 32. It was like 9 degrees, 5 degrees. It was a Shabbat morning, and he told me he's going to go to the mikveh. It was free. I couldn't even walk outside. Imagine going to the mikveh and walking outside. He did it. He's like, and then when I saw him later that day, he's like, I don't know, I just came. Like, you know what, Sadiq is Sodom. He's really a tremendous Sadiq. Doesn't accept any money. Doesn't want anything. Even when I offer him something, he gets upset. He's like, oh, come on, I'm not gonna do it. And he really a tremendous Sadiq. But then he told me, he's like, I'm gonna go to the mikveh on the morning of the Brit, and I'll tell you why. I'm doing it for your son. I'm not doing it for me, I'm doing it for your son. Because there's a lot about, the mohel goes to the mikveh on the morning, it gives kedusha to the child. There's Shabbat morning. Yeah, you're allowed to go to the mikveh on Shabbat. Yeah, it's open on Shabbat. So
You're not supposed to like drive in the towel or something?
yeah, you just air dry. You just hang out. There's a bench down there. You just put your stuff on and you go. It's okay. This is what I mean. It's freezing cold outside with a beard and hair. Like whatever. Baruch Hashem. But this left an impact on me. Do I think it works? This is a tremendous tzaddik. Or Safir is a tremendous tzaddik. He told me that I'm doing it for your son. I believe him.
I think someone threw money in his car and he drove away. He drove back just to give it back.
He's amazing. He's amazing. Yeah. Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. If you ever need a mohel, call Rabbi Safir. He will be busy. He's always busy, but he'll come. Okay, let's keep going. Very funny. One Shabbat he was here for someone else, and like I guess like there was a lot of tarof, like this, that, and he really can't stand it. So it was like the end of Shabbat. It was like Motzei Saturday night, and like we're praying Arvit, and imagine a long day of tarof. Someone held the door open, and like they were in front, and then they went to the side, like, please, Rabbi. He's like, oh, come on. And he's just like I just want to walk in already. So what are you doing? Like everyone, it's just very fun. I really love him. Baruch Hashem. Okay, let's keep going with the Gemara. Amar Mar. Let's go back to that discussion of when we were distinguishing between Mishnah and Gemara. One of the opinions were Matziyat Mishnah ve'eno Matziyat Gemara. You can explain the Mishnah, just don't explain the Gemarot. Remember that opinion? Look at the chart. Which one opinion is that? That is number 3. Okay? You could explain the Mishnah, but don't explain the Gemara. Fine. Messiah le Rabbi Eli. So that is a proof for the opinion of Rabbi Eli. Dama Rabbi Eli barabacha. Dama Rabbi Eli Amar Ravacha bar Yaakov mishum Rabbeinu. Because the opinion of Rabbi Eli says, Halacha, what's the law? Matzia et Mishnah ve'eno matzia et Gemara. You can explain Mishnah, don't explain Gemarot. So Rabbi Eli came and says something. We found the Braita that one of the opinions is just like him. Like, beautiful. We have a source. It's a proof for Rabbi Eli. So the Gemara says Ketana. No, there's other opinions that argue. Matzia et Mishnah ve'eno matzia et Gemara divrei Rabbi Meir. That's the opinion of Rabbi Meir. That's why if you look at the chart, he put Resh Mem here because Rabbi Meir says that also, as we're seeing now. Rabbi Meir is of this opinion. Rabbi Yehuda ben Gamliel Omer Mishum Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel Ze v'ze asur. Both Mishnah and Gemara is asur. Ve'amila ze v'ze mutar. And another opinion says that this opinion of Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel says both Mishnah and Gemara are mutar. So we don't know which one he is, but you can line it up because we have both of them. Why? Manda Amar ze v'ze asur. The one that says both Mishnah and Gemara is asur. Rabbi Yochanan Hasan Lar. That's like the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan Hasan Lar. If you look at the chart, Adam Sandler's grandfather. Don't even enter the Beit Midrash. It's a Jewish name, Sandler. It's a Jewish name. Manda Amar Ze v'Ze mutar, and then the other one that says both Mishnah and Gemara is mutar. That's the opinion of Rabbi Adam that says everything is allowed. Okay? Now, we want to know what the halacha is like. I already told you halacha is like Rabbi Adam but we didn't do that in the Gemara yet. Let's see it in the Gemara. Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. Once Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak says, Nehug alma kani tilat sabeh. The whole world follows like these following three elders in three specific cases. There's three rabbis that the whole world follows in three specific cases. Rabbi Eli Berachot 21B-22A, with respect to the law of Berachot 21B-22A, which is the first shearing. If you have a sheep and you have wool of the sheep, the first wool that you shear off belongs to Kohen. There's a halachot. It's called Berachot 21B-22A. So there's a law that Rabbi Eli taught us by that, and the halacha is like Rabbi Eli. We're going to see what it is. But Rabbi Eli has a famous opinion by Berachot 21B-22A. Rabbi Yoshia b'kilayim. Rabbi Yoshia has a famous opinion by the law of kilayim, which we're going to see in a second. Kilayim is mixed breeding grain and a vineyard, mixing those things, grapes and wheat together. Rabbi Yoshia has an opinion there, and the halacha is going to follow him. And Rabbi Yehuda ben Betira b'divrei Torah, and the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda ben Betira with respect to divrei Torah, that divrei Torah inan mikablin tumah, which means the Ba'al Keri is allowed to study Torah. So now you have Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak telling us halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda ben Betira in our case. But how did he say this? He said there's three cases where we follow three rabbis. We follow Rabbi Eli in Berachot 21B-22A, we follow Rabbi Yoshia in Kilayim, and we follow Rabbi Adam ben Betira in this case of Ba'al Keri and Divrei Torah. So for us, our discussion, we really care about the third one, but let's talk about all three. That's what the Gemara is going to do. Very short. Rabbi Eli Berachot 21B-22A. The law is going to be like Rabbi Eli in the case of the first shearing of a wool. The Tanya, because we learned in a Braita, Rabbi Eli Omer, Rabbi Eli says, Berachot 21B-22A, eno noheg ela ba'aretz. Oh, Rabbi Eli says that Berachot 21B-22A only applies in Israel. Why is this such a big deal? Because what does the sheep have to do with Israel? It's not like it has to do with the law of planting. If I tell you the laws of ma'asrot are only in Israel, well, you say, okay, the fruit grows from this ground, the fruit grows from that ground. It only applies in the fruit that grows from this ground. But if you tell me that the first time you have to shear a wool, you have to give something to a Kohen, and you say, outside of Israel doesn't apply. What does the sheep have to do with Israel? What if it's an Israeli sheep I brought outside? What if it's a non-Israeli sheep I took inside? Like, what does it have to do with it? But the halacha is like Rabbi Eli. And it's a big deal. Because everyone in Chutz La'aretz doesn't have to keep it. It's a big deal. Okay? So Berachot 21B-22A is eno noheg ela ba'aretz, and the halacha is like him. What was the second case? Rabbi Yoshia b'kilayim. What's the law of kilayim? Kidichtiv, as the pasuk says, Lo tizra karmecha kilayim. Your kerem, what's a kerem? A vineyard. Your kerem, do not plant a mixture, which sounds like putting wheat in your kerem. But Rabbi Yoshia Omer says, no. Leolam eno chayav. A person is only chayav ad sheizra chita us'ora v'chartzan b'mapolet yad. They have to be doing 3 species in order for it to be a problem. So he made life a lot easier. Because what is Rabbi Yoshia saying? Rabbi Yoshia saying is that if a person puts wheat in his vineyard, he's not chayav. He's only chayav if he puts wheat and barley with his vineyard. 3 species. He's making life a lot easier. Right? And now how does he read it in the pasuk? Because what does the pasuk say? Lo tizra karmecha kilayim. Do not plant on your vineyard a mixture. Now, the simple way of understanding it means putting wheat in the vineyard is a mixture. But he's saying, no, don't put there something that's already a mixture, meaning you already have to have 2, plus your vineyard is 3. Don't do that. And the halacha is like him. And to do it in one motion. How do they translate it? And with a single hand motion, meaning that while sowing the vineyard, he violates the prohibition of diverse kinds that applies to seeds and to the vineyard simultaneously.
Yeah, literally don't put a mixture in.
Correct. Do not put in a mixture. Do not take in your hand wheat, barley, grapes. Don't do that.
It's a single thrust.
In a single thrust. The third thing that we follow the rabbi is Rabbi Adam with respect to Divrei Torah. The Tanya Rabbi Adam Omer. Rabbi Adam says, everyone together, and Divrei Torah mikabelin tuma. Divrei Torah do not become ritually impure. Okay? Very good. Very good. Very good. Wow. Okay, good question. So, okay, good question. Good question. Yeah, that's okay. So there's okay, I'll tell you. Okay, who can tell me an answer?
Doesn't change the words of the, doesn't change the meaning of the divrei, it's just.
It's the location versus the person.
Okay, so
Dirty
Tomer, you're getting it. You're getting it.
Like inappropriate, it's not about being.
So Ilan, all right. So Ilan's question is, if in Divrei Torah mikablim tuma, so then do it in the bathroom. Say Divrei Torah in the bathroom also. Tomer, you're getting it. It's inappropriate because it's dirty. Sorry. Very good, very good. So the difference is as follows: Tum'ah is ritual impurity, and Divrei Torah mikablim tum'ah, which means if you are ritually impure, you can't study Torah. But if someone is physically impure, you have to be clean. You can't study Torah. It's like you're saying, it's disgusting, it's dirty, it's disrespectful. A person that has a spiritual impurity, they could be what's the word? Specking clean. I don't know what I'm sparkling is what I wanted to say. You could be sparkling clean. You could smell like flowers, and you could be tamei. Tamei doesn't mean dirty. Tamei means ritually impure, and the Torah does not become ritually impure. The guy was Ba'al Keri. The guy showered. Still, he has a problem of tum'ah.
Two different kinds of dirty.
You got it. Here we go. I need to do this for Richard. Ki ata ze'iri. Ze'iri came from Eretz Yisrael to Bavel, and he wants to come with some fresh news. And he comes in, and everyone's like, "What's the word? Good word, Ze'iri. What's the good word?" He's like, "I have it. I have the good word. You ready? Ready? Everyone, sit down. I'm going to blow your mind. This is what happened in Israel. Batlua leteviluta. They got rid of the mikveh. Batlua means they abolished leteviluta. They abolished mikveh. Like, wow! Everyone's like, see, you heard what he said? Coming in with this gossip. The Amrila, some say, no. He said something else. But Luan lenitiluta. He got rid of netilat yadayim. He came from Israel. He said, you don't know the rabbis in Israel. They got rid of netilat yadayim. One of those, he got rid of mikveh, got rid of netilat yadayim. Everyone's like, what is he talking about? So we'll explain. Man de amar bat lua letiviluta. The one that says he got rid of mikveh, kirbidam and metira. It's not saying the concept of mikveh is abolished. It's just saying mikveh for the Ba'al Keri has been abolished, which is saying that the takana of Ezra is now gone. That's the opinion of Rabbi Adam and Metira that the halacha is like. So he's giving us a testimony that in Israel they practice like Rabbi Adam and Metira. Man de amar lua lenitiluta. But what about the one that Ze'iri came and said they got rid of netilat yadayim? He had Rav Chasta. That's like the opinion of Rav Chasta. Layet aman de mehader amaya beidan silota. Rav Chasta would curse someone who would go to do netilat yadayim at the time of tefillah. What is that referring? That's referring to what Richard said. Imagine a person has to pray. It's time to pray. And what does he do? He says, oh, I have to go wash my hands. I have to go wash my hands. So what I have to do? I have to go across the street, go over there, wait online. Oh, the tefillah's finished. Now, there is no minyan. You missed minyan, you missed everything, but you washed your hands. You know, sometimes kids in high school will do this. You know, they're like, oh, Rabbi, I have to go do netilat yadayim. Like, a kid goes and he gets lost, and he ends up on the 4th floor of the school. He ends up on the roof. Well, I was trying to do netilat yadayim. Where are you going? So what Rav Chista would say is, like, if you're about to pray, you're in the middle of tefillah, your hands are dirty, go like this. Don't waste time. You're going to lose your whole tefillah. So this is why Ze'iri comes and says, Badluan and netilah. He says, you don't know. In this yeshiva, no one does netilat yadayim. Why? Because whoever does Rav Chista is going to kill them. Someone goes and starts washing this, says, go back inside. Wipe your hands, go back inside. Of course, we're not talking about someone whose hand is like, there's filth on it. We're talking about something that's a little bit dirty. They're able to wipe it with you probably bet in Rav Chista's Bet Midrash, there was the Purell. There was Purell everywhere. Everyone stay here, do your Purell. Don't go outside. You clean your hands that way. It's very, very clear. Yeah?
maybe some of the exceptions also apply for like people in time of war or soldiers. Like we were with people that are soldiers that haven't showered for weeks or have access to water, so like they shouldn't be able to study Torah.
Very good. There are situations where you don't have water. That's exactly it. You guys remember where this Gemara was? Oof! We had a Gemara, Masechet Berachot. I know where it is. We had a Gemara, Masechet Berachot. We learned it together, where we spoke about how far you had to travel in order to do Netilat Yadayim before Tefillah. And I'll give you a clue. The distance, if you're traveling this way, if you're going in one direction, you have to travel a certain amount, but if you're going in the back direction, you have to travel another amount. Four meal forward, 1 meal back. Is that what you said? You said 2 forward, 1 back. I think the 1 back is correct, but not 2 forward, 4 forward, which is a parsa. Parsa forward, meal back. What daf? Daf Tet Vav. On the top of the page. Daf Tet Vav on the top of the page, I think. What? A. I'll tell you how I know. If I'm right, I'll tell you how I know. Okay, let's go. Daf Tet Vav. Tet Vav is 15. Here we go. Yeah, it's right there on the top. Yeah, this is exactly it. If you don't have something to clean your hands, wipe it on something that'll clean it off. This is what we were just talking about. Rav Chasta would curse someone who would go searching after water at the time of praying. That's for Shema. But for tefillah, mehader, you should go looking for it. Ve'ad Kamma, how much should you go looking for it? Ad parsa, which is 4 meal. V'hani mili lekameh, that's if you're going forward. Aval la'achoreh, afilu mil eno chozer, not even a meal. So maybe we were both wrong. Not a meal, but not even a meal. I don't know what that means. Milud eno chozer hapachot mimil chozer. Less than a meal, and we would have been correct. We said a meal. It wasn't a meal. It was less than a meal. It's allowed, but a meal up in a meal is not allowed. How did I remember? I'll tell you how. From Zichru. For Zichru, I have a vision in my mind of a netilat cup with 2 handles and fruit in there. The fruit is like Tu B'Shvat, because on Tu B'Shvat you have fruit, and it's in a netilat cup. So I knew the netilat yadayim daf is on daf Tet Vav, Tu B'Shvat. And I'll just tell you, just for the rest of it, because you want to know what else on the daf, this is the Zichru. The 2 handles are in the shape of ears, because the rest of the Mishnah talks about when you say Shema, you have to hear yourself, or you don't have to hear yourself. It's a machloket. So the 2 handles is that, and then on the cup you have 2 words that says Al Levavecha. That's because the rest of the Gemara on that page says that when you're saying the words of Shema, V'limatam shiyu limudcha tam, when you have words in Shema that the last letter of the first word and the first letter of the last word are the same, you have to take a space in between. So on this wash cup, it says the words Al Levavecha, which is from Shema Yisrael. So in my mind, I see a wash cup with fruit on the inside, 2 big ear handles, and the words Al Levavecha on the wash cup. Now I know. Oh, and there's fruit on the inside. The fruit means Daf Tet Vav. The wash cup means it's about this Netilat Yadayim. The 2 ears means that's the whole page that talks about when you have to hear something. Remember, we said about someone who's deaf and he has to say Shema Yisrael, he has to say Berachot 21B, he has to hear himself. Spend a lot of time talking about that. And the words Al Levavecha. This Zichru program is amazing. So now you learn exactly where it is. 4 or 5 things on one daf. Okay? Good?
You have every daf of the entire shas, you can do that?
No, I can't do that. No. But it's not that hard. No. So you know what? I'll tell you this. I'll tell you a story from Rabbi Eli Mansour, then we'll end up. Rabbi Eli Mansour says he once had a guest. He has a daf yomi shiur. And for every daf, there's a sign. The sign has 4 elements in there, or 5 elements. One of them tells you what daf it is. So I told you, the fruit means it's on Tu B'Shvat, it's on daf Tet Vav. And then there's 3 things that has to do with that fruit. Like in this case, I told you, it was a washing cup, it was 2 ears, and it's the word Al Levavecha. And then as they got more, they have to put 1 more sign to tell you which Masechet it's in. Because right now, I just know it's Masechet Berachot, but once you do a lot of Masechtot, you have a lot of fruit. You have a fruit on every single thing. So they have to put something to remind you which Masechet it's in. So Rabbi Mansour said how he had a guest, and they give a daf yomi shiur. At the end of the daf yomi shiur, he says, "Okay, everyone, let's do some chazara. Let's do some review." And he says, now we're going to sit together. We're going to review some Gemara. And he says, how much are you going to review? He's like, we're going to do some daf. He's like, how many daf? We're going to do 100 daf. And I said, you're going to do 100 daf now? He's like, yeah, we're going to do 100 daf right now. What is it on this daf? And boom, boom, boom. Okay, what does it say on this daf? 1, 2, 3. What does it say on this daf? 1, 2, 3. What is it? And as a group, this guy, he said, whoever was with us, his mind was blown. We just went through 100 daf of Shas. But if you go through it with the picture, really what you're doing is you have to have an image in your mind. Now, you need to remember what is the elements of the image, what does it mean? But if you do it, you could help remember. For Masechah Berachot, they don't have pictures, they just write it out. For the later Masechtot, they have pictures, they have videos. So this is something I spent some time doing. I forgot how far I got up to. I think I got up to Daf Chaf. Maybe Daf Yurchet. I have to do it again. It's very good. It's very good. Rama, you want to do it?
My memory is not that good.
That's it. Rama, if you're not going to do it now, when are you going to do it? I'll send you the website. Yeah, exactly. Everyone's phone numbers, right? Yeah. Yeah, okay, very good. So Be'ezrat Hashem, Hazak Baruch Shalom. So the main thing that I want us to come away from this Gemara is to understand that Torah has to have respect. We're studying Torah, we should treat it with respect. And Be'ezrat Hashem, as we study the Torah with respect, it should be like Ma'amad Har Sinai, like back in those days that we received the Torah, we should relive it and we should feel it. Hazak Baruch.